What's going on YouTube? It's your man Army Vet Collection back with another video installment of my web series, What Do You Collect? On today's topic, I'll be featuring another set of sports trading cards. And if you've been following with me this long, you know that I constantly throw out those hot reminders that the sports trading card industry is on fire. There's so much going on. There's ridiculous numbers being thrown out there. There's actually people becoming YouTube sensations for the collections that they're presenting and showing and the things that they're able to accomplish in the hobby, be it financial or be it just what you would call those hard to find or those holy grail type of find cards. And then you got people even debuting stuff like local finds at flea markets or drug stores or any type of trading environment, swap meets. I even heard people finding stuff at like Goodwills and other type of stores or environments like that. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. I decided to let the topic for this video be on NBA rookies, seeing as how the NBA season is about to come back around and we're going to be hearing all these great things about the dynamic players of today. You know, the LeBron James, the Carmelo Anthonys, the Steph Currys, and the Spider Mitchell out of Utah, or the different players in today's NBA that I take nothing from. They have serious game. You know, Trae Young can shoot it from distance. Dame Lillard can shoot it from distance. But watching the Olympics recently just kind of made me go back into the mind frame of those players back from when I was a kid that I idolized, that just had the type of game that spoke for itself. They didn't need to show you a shoe collection to get attention, because once they laced them up and got on that court, they simply meant business. You know, they had a flair to their game or a workmanship to their game that just basically earned admirers and respect just across the nation. So with that being said, we're going to feature a series of rookies, all different makes and manufacturers of cards, but just a few that I've collected over the years. Some I've had as long as 15, 20 years. So, you know, there may be some slight condition issues, but the main focal point of the video is just to display the players that I, you know, collected and admired and decided to keep in my personal collection. So first up the bat is a young guard that when came in the league, he jumped on a roster of players that were later to become some of the greatest to ever play the game. And that would be the Chicago Bulls. And this player is B.J. Armstrong. B.J. Armstrong was a nice point guard. He was quick. He had nice handle. He was pretty efficient, didn't turn it over, didn't try to be too flashy, never tried to be something he wasn't. He basically came off the bench for the Bulls and simply played the role of being consistent point guard and playing off ball to Michael Jordan. He would knock down mid-range jumpers. He would penetrate to the hole. He would get fouled. He was basically a nightmare cover when playing in between two of the greatest wing players in Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan that ever played the game. So imagine dealing with those two all night, and then you got this young guy coming in and banging you out for 10 to 12 a night and then dropping 4 or 5 assists. It was just a nightmare. And he was a step up from the old guard point guards that the Bulls had, and John Paxson and who did they have? Craig Hodges, those type of guards that didn't show a lot of mobility with the ball. They were basically just waiting to spot up and shoot off ball between Jordan and Pippen. But B.J. Armstrong was a nice addition to the team and went on to have a decent career himself afterwards. And he ended up playing, I think, for Charlotte Hornets, and he ended up dropping 30 on the Bulls' head, which the last documentary featured an episode on that. But this is B.J. Armstrong's Hoops 1990 rookie card. Benjamin Roy Armstrong. Very solid guard in his day. Next up, this player was one of those players that came out of that New York scene, which is known for its flashy point guard play and its flair and dribble and dime dropping skills from the guard position. And that's Stephon Marbury. Another player that I think was a bit overrated in his NBA career. He never gelled or meshed with a coach and a coaching scheme, but his talent spoke for itself. He was at one point on a comparable level to Allen Iverson. I mean, those two guys were pretty much the it guys coming out of the East in that mid-90s. and they were two of the last smaller type guards that made an impact that could easily give you 30 a night and just were a nightmare to try and hold. He ended up having a what you might call a journeyman's career, bounced around the NBA, and then he ended up going over to China where he revitalized his career in his mid-30s and became a champion over there in the Chinese basketball league and basically a legend. I think he won multiple championships and might have even had a statue somewhere over there. But if anybody knows more about that, drop it in the comments because it makes for interesting conversation. But Steph Marbury was the first Steph that I knew in the NBA. And I mean, this guy could flat out score. He could score from all three levels. His handle was tight. And he was electrifyingly quick with the ball in his hand. Steph Marbury. And this is his Ultra Fleer 96-97 Encore rookie. I think that Steph is going to have a resurgence in card value also. I've been kind of tracking what's happened with him in China. And as China's economy booms, I think that their idea and things that they value in the collecting world is going to spike. And so Steph Marbury is one that where he doesn't hold a lot of value in our market. I think that if you were to acquire some of his stuff, it might be a good idea to just kind of take one eye and keep it on China and see what happens. Because like I said, they label him a legend over there in their basketball scene. Next up, this guy needs no introduction. Came out of, I think, the mid-east of the country. Dynamic point guard, brought size to the position where small guys had been dominating and came in when a slight void needed to be filled by the absence of Michael Jordan. Made a debut in a pretty decent college hoops movie called Blue Chips with Shaquille O'Neal. And I read an article that once said that after Shaquille O'Neal saw this guy playing on set, he decided that he had to tell his coaching staff to draft this guy immediately. So if you haven't figured out who I'm talking about already, it's Penny Hardaway. Penny came into the league and took it by storm. He came in and no one was expecting him to be as good as he was, but his handle was tight. His size was elite. He was a nightmare a monster on the other end. He was a nightmare matchup for anybody trying to guard him because he was too big for smaller guards and he was too fast for small forwards that wanted to try to stay in front of him. So he made way for the bigger guards to come in that resurgence of the position. A lot of people give Magic Johnson credit for being that big guard that opened that door, but there was not a series of big guards coming and running point after Magic. There was a series of big guards coming and running the point after Penny Hardaway did it. He did it with style, he did it with flair, he did it with grace. And if you gave him an inch, he would bang on you. Those of you that watched basketball in the 90s definitely understand the term bang on you because that's what we use to signify getting dunked on. Penny Hardaway. And this is his Skybox 94 rookie. Next up, honorable mention, Penny. Beautiful card. I decided to put this one in just because I've always liked this series of cards, Topps Finest. Just the color and the way it just pops, the vibrant look of it as light refracts off it, always caught my eye. And I always thought that, I would definitely pick up all the cards that I could in this series. So this is also one of his rookies. Topps Finest, Penny Hardaway. Decent NBA career, but I would say not the career we all thought he'd have after the blazing start that he actually entered the league with. This next guy, I'm not even going to go into a long spiel about who he is. As you guys know, I can get a bit winded. I'm just going to go right into it because everything about him signified who he was on and off the court. And seeing this card shows you him pre-cornrows. And those of you basketball hoops fans like I am already know who I'm talking about. Everyone asked the question, what are we going to do without Jordan? Well, the answer came in a small guard that was probably not even barely 6'1" in stature, but as quick as the Energizer Bunny. AI. This guy had the potential to be on par with the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. He is on my Mount Rushmore, but my Mount Rushmore doesn't really matter to the basketball world. This guy could do everything on the court. If you said he was too small, he beat you with speed. He beat you with flair. He beat you with style. If you said that he didn't pass enough, he dropped 30 on you. And when you started to collapse on him, guess what he did? He dropped a lot of passes to wide open players. If you said he didn't play defense, he played the passing lanes with probably speed that would be equivalent to what a cornerback in the NFL could run. And he was just a terror in the passing lanes. Always one of the league leaders in steals. He always was one of the most fiery competitors in the NBA. He created a different style of play. He created a hard work ethic. He created a brash, I'm not going to be apologetic for my style and my flair. I'm not going to be Mr. Joe suit and tie. I'm going to come in with tattoos and baggy clothes, and I'm going to make a statement for the youth of America and the world to follow. Be yourself. Be who you are. Love yourself. Respect others, though. You know, you being you doesn't have to hurt anybody else. And if somebody doesn't like you for who you are, stick that middle finger up and tell them, hey, you know what to do with it. But Allen Iverson, trendsetter, one of the most dominating games, arguably the best small guy in a big man's league that we've ever seen, and just somebody that I admire to this day, Allen Iverson. This is this 96-97 Flair Ultra All Rookie card. This card has a lot going on with it. It's a beautiful card. In the higher states, graded, it can go for quite a bit too. It's in today's collecting world, it's getting a bit hard to find. You know, a few years ago you could find them around, but I think that with Allen Iverson's career taking a big spike and getting ready to be the face man for the relaunching of the Reebok shoe company. And of those of you who haven't heard, be on the lookout for that because it's coming. But Allen Iverson. Next up, another guy that needs no introduction. When it comes to banging on somebody in the 90s, if that were a picture in the dictionary, this is who would be next to it, or this is who it would be of. The Rain Man, Sean Kemp. And it's befitting that his 90 Hoops rookie is of him in the air doing one of his signature half leaner, half cock back, half hammers of when he threw it down. Style, flair, grace. Came into the league as a question mark. Could he be quick enough? Could he handle the ball well enough? He can't shoot. Can he play defense? What can he do? What can he do? And when he got in the league and was partnered up with great point guard Gary Payton, he showed you what he could do. He dunked on everybody. He outworked everybody. He out-rebounded everybody. He gave Karl Malone fits in the paint. Every other power forward that you thought you had to mark on the calendar, this guy came to town and you had a long night. And if you gave him an inch, you already knew what time it was. Big hands, lanky limbs. Before he gained weight due to lack of play and injury, he was probably a local fan favorite in every arena because when he played, when the Seattle Supersonics played in that early 90s, you definitely did not want to miss. In fact, they started scheduling all of their games on TV to get airplay because of the Rain Man. 1990 Hoops, Sean Kemp. This next guy began setting trends on the college level. One of the premier big men, helped to transition the league from center dominant ball to the other positions getting shine. C. Webb. This guy was touted for being one of the college players on the select team for the 92 Olympics that gave the original Dream Team a fit. And it is said that with the cameras turned off in the first game of the scrimmages, that they took it to Jordan and Magic and Bird and Barkley, and they won that first game without camera or televised footage. But we all know how the second and third scrimmages went because it's on every documentary of the Dream Team that you can find. They put the young boys back into place. But every one of those professionals said it themselves, that C. Webb is a man in a boy's body, and he's ready to come into the league. And he took it by storm. A big power forward that was strong, that enjoyed rebounding, that enjoyed banging on you, that enjoyed giving you the occasional awkward-looking crossover, but still created space. And in the later parts of his career, developed a nice mid-range jumper. C. Webb. You can find him commentating on several games today. Had that scandal coming out of Michigan. He was a part of the Fab Five. That's gone and been put to rest. I think him and his longtime brother Jalen Rose, who also is a fantastic commentator, buried the hatchet after years of silence and not being on speaking terms. Now they are, and I look forward to seeing them back on the Michigan campus representing. And for all of those that go back as much as I do as an old school NBA hoops fan, the introduction to the black socks when you're hooping. So you can give credit to that, to Chris Webber and the rest of his Fab Five brothers for the black socks, which later became all different color socks and went away from the traditional white socks on the NBA scene. One of the greatest power forwards in the history of basketball, somebody I deeply admire, C. Webb. And this is his Skybox rookie. I think it's a 94 also. Next up, this guy came in, and if there was an answer to what happened after Michael Jordan, then there had to be an answer to what happened after big-time center, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And that was a foreigner who also came out of nowhere, came with a different style of play, and also kind of took the NBA by surprise. He didn't dominate, but he became what you would call an X factor amongst other players that were supposed to be the players you watched out for. And that's a great ambassador to foreign basketball to this day, and a big man in one of the most storied franchises in the NBA, Vlade Divac. Vlade Divac came into the league when the center position was starting to lose some of its appeal. It wasn't such a big man dominant league anymore, and they were starting to go into a lot of pick and roll motion offense. And so those big dominant centers that crushed the ball on the inside, pounded in, that started to fade out. So centers had to start learning how to move without the ball, learn how to shoot spot up jumpers from that 8 to 12 foot range on pick and pops versus pick and rolls. And then learning how to play defense that was not anchored down into post. You had to get out there on the perimeter and guard a little bit. Vlade was an excellent defender. He was an excellent rebounder. He was a decent scorer. Nothing to brag on offensively, although he held his own. And I think that he became one of those players that kids in other countries looked up to and said, you know what? Vlade did it. I can do it. And so later on, we get the Giannis Antetokounmpos, the Dirk Nowinskis, Peja Stojakovic's, all these other guys from other countries. But Vlade helped pave the way for that. He was one of the first known international players that made a name for himself on a reputable contender team. Vlade Divac, 90 hoops rookie. Honorable mention is his 90 Fleer rookie. I love this card set. There's just something about him. It's just very clean with the white borders. I prefer white borders to dark borders because they don't have as much paint chipping. But Vlade is one of those guys that I think if you talk basketball, in particular 90s basketball, I think most people would know the name Vlade Divac. And having your name ring out through decades is something that I respect. So next up, no long intro, the Admiral. This guy is, I think, the embodiment of the word class. He came into the league. He showed the league a center that while the league tried to transition away from big men, he came in and anchored it back down. He came in and said, hey, we're not ready to relinquish our dominance yet. Mid-range jumper, check. Handle, check. Speed, check. Finishing both hands around the basket, check. Bang on you, check. Basketball IQ, check. This guy could do it all. I mean, he'd push it end to end. He'd score off the post. He'd curl. He'd score off of pick and roll. He'd score give and go situations. He could do it all. I mean, he just simply never lost his cool in a game. He'd drop 25 and 15 on you. And while other players were cursing each other out and calling each other every name in the book, never uttered a curse word. And then he also later went on to mentor one of the greatest power forwards and players to play the game, Tim Duncan, on a championship team, and grabbed him up a couple of rings before he got out. He gave up the title as being one of the most dominant players in the league and leading the San Antonio Spurs, and stepped aside in what would probably be considered the lower part of the height of his career. Now, who would do that? put his ego aside, saw the young talented Timmy Duncan coming on and said, hey, man, I got you. You take the reins, and I'll feed off your energy. So nothing but respect for that. And the final player I'm going to talk about before I get out of here, this video went a little longer than I intended it to. You know how YouTube is, you only get somebody's attention for a couple minutes before they're already going off to look at porn. No, I'm joking. But this last guy, you turn your TV on and you'll see this guy selling everything from underwear to insurance, from pizza to fruit. He's peddling everything. He's boxed. He's drove race cars. He's done everything. He's sponsored a couple of so-called models from Instagram. He's done a little bit of it all. Shaquille O'Neal. This guy's career was so dominant and so forceful and so powerful that it shook the NBA by the core and damn near brought the rafters down, literally. When he first came into the league, there was no doubt about who he was. There was no doubt about what he was going to do. And there was no doubt about that you couldn't do a damn thing about it. He was going to bang on you. He's the epitome of the word bang on you and bring down the rim. Brought down several on national TV and caused time delays in nationally televised basketball games. Had never seen anything like it since. But this guy is a monster, and he's probably more successful now in the business world than he was as a hooper. Shaquille O'Neal was the epitome of what you call a dominant player. For those of you millennials who think that the Greek freak Giannis Antetokounmpo is powerful, you have no idea what it's like to see power in the paint until you saw this guy pre-weight, when he was able to get up and down the court, coming at you with a full steam and dunking, and everybody in the arena erupting. This guy was a monster. And later on, as a journeyman, which is also known as the part of your career where you kind of lose it, but his journeyman career consisted of him going around and helping other star players to win championships. He's got championships everywhere. He's got championships with multiple teams. I think he's even got a championship with one of the teams here where I'm from. No, that was just a little bit of hoops humor for you. But no, Shaquille O'Neal was a serious guy on the court. Nothing to be played with. Gave some of your great legends and some of your modern players who are kind of long in the tooth fits on the court. There was just simply nothing you could do with him. And the only guy that I ever seen really kind of give him fits was probably Akeem Olajuwon, the wily vet. Oh, I take that back. Yao Ming gave him a bit of trouble too. But other than that, he wrecked everybody. But there you have it, Shaquille O'Neal. So I think that's a pretty good array of cards presented. Just showing you a little bit of some of what I got in my collection, because I've always favored NBA rookie cards, in terms of collecting for the love of the sport, combined with hoping to maybe have something that might even put a couple dollars in your pocket. Can't go wrong with NBA rookies that later became Hall of Fame players. And before I sign off, just take a look at the back, and you'll notice that I got a couple other guys on display. That Z-Force Iverson, that's 97. That Z-Force Jordan, that Z-Force is on the rise. Skybox cards are becoming more and more hard to find as they haven't had that resurgence. So I think that anytime something becomes hard to find, it just simply goes up in value. You'll notice also on the left, another one of those Topps Finest, that's a Scottie Pippen edition. Like I said, those things are just beautiful. And then on the far right, you'll notice, his airness, MJ, mid-air in one of his patented reverse scoop layups. So be on the lookout for videos to come with Hall of Famers and legends in all three of the big sports. I have a wide variety in my collection, so I appreciate your time. This is my stab at trying to put a video out that was a little bit longer than my average, and I hope that you hung around with me for the entire duration, and I hope that you continue to hang with me as the What Do You Collect series grows and expands. So I appreciate your support. You already know what's next. Take your fingers out, pull away from the porn for a second. Hit me a like, my content's growing, it's getting better. You're starting to tell me it's getting better. So as you feed energy into me, I'm going to feed energy back to you and give you better content. And so hit that like, go ahead and subscribe, all this algorithm stuff that we hear, not really sure what all that's about. Just trying to make content for my fellow hobbyists out there that we can vibe and rock out to each other. So drop comments below. Let me know what you're working with. And as always, I'm always down to do a little business. So this is your man, Army Vet, out of here. Be on the lookout for the next vid. Everybody stay safe. COVID's kicking our ass, but we're still in the fight. So I'll see you next time. Out of here.